Hi, this is Jim Couri again with another video. But this video is going to be a little bit different than some of the others I've been doing over the past few weeks. Firstly, I want all of you to be aware that will be going into the hospital fairly shortly for multiple surgeries and extensive treatment for melanoma cancer. As you may well know, melanoma cancer is really almost incurable. There are certain protocols available that may work and that may not work. I'm hoping that I will latch onto one that will work. But in addition to that, I plan to continue, even if it's through a hospital bed, presenting these videos with the hope that some of them, if not all of them, will be helpful to all of you who are watching. I would like all of you to be aware that my plan is to begin from when I was a young boy in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, so that all of you will understand why I've had more than just a smattering of knowledge of corruption in the New York courts. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, my father was an active politico in Brooklyn and a very close friend and ally of a man by the name of John R. Cruz, who was the boss man of Brooklyn at the time, such like Boss Tweed. Nothing really happened in Brooklyn without Johnny Cruz's go-ahead. Everything that went on in Brooklyn, from the selection of a judge to a police commissioner or a major contract, had to go through Johnny Cruz's hands. I watched and listened to the antics that went on in our home on Shore Road, sometimes 2 and 3 times a week, with fellows like Len Hall, Bill O'Dwyer, Tony Durso, even Tom Dewey, the subsequent mayor and gentleman who ran for president a couple of times and lost to Harry Truman. All the big name politicos would come and go. Dad became commissioner of customs thanks to Johnny Cruz. As I got older and began to wear long pants, I became very friendly with Roy Cohn, the celebrated lawyer who was Senator McCarthy's aide. Roy used to say, "I don't need to know the case, I need to know the judge." Roy and I were very good friends from probably 1958 or 59 until the time he passed away of cancer. I watched Roy, I listened to Roy, and I saw what Roy did in the courts in New York. I also saw what Sidney Korshack did in the courts in California. So I have more than just a smattering of knowledge of how courts work and how corrupt they can be. Again, I want to repeat, that doesn't mean that every judge is a crook. They're not. There are many judges who try very hard to do their job and do it fairly. Sad as it may seem, there are many judges who don't, who are corrupted by lawyers who are zealous enough and want to bribe to win cases. And this happens a lot. I've had first-hand experience of these types of antics over the past number of years, starting in White Plains many years ago and bringing you to New York recently with some of the antics of Joe Burke, Russo Burke, George Pavia, John Siebert, and many others. Now, I am not going to go into detail today with any of the cases that I've been involved in. What I'm going to do is to just give you an outline as to what you can expect to hear about. You will be hearing over the next number of weeks specific details of what went on from 1945 in the Brooklyn and New York courts up until 3 weeks ago. I'm going to name names. I'm going to tell you how this charade works, what you should be looking for and watching out for. You know, I learned firsthand from Johnny Cruz, from my dad, from Roy Cohn, and through Roy, Walter Winchell, and then through Roy, Sidney Korshack in Los Angeles, California, and Greg Boutzer, exactly how this whole system works. It's not like I got it from a textbook. I got it from real life, first-hand experience. I looked, I watched, I listened, I sat in meetings, and I saw how the system operated. I saw how Judson Morehouse, the former Republican state chairman, Nelson Rockefeller's friend and ADC, got himself involved with the Playboy Club when he was my father's partner, and exactly how it ended up for poor Judd Morehouse. I saw what happened with Sidney Korshack when he made the arrangements with some of the, let's say, boys, as to how the Desert Inn and Mo Dalitz took control of the Stardust Hotel, and what happened after that, and how when Bobby Kennedy wanted to find out how come the Stardust was sold for $14 million to Del Coleman's Bob and Dorman, that Jack Kennedy intervened and put a stop to the investigation and put a stop to John Factor being extradited, and in fact pardoned him. Why? Because Sam Giancana was involved in that transaction. So this is how the system works. And it's no different today with George Pavia and Ken Gomez and John Siebert and Russo and Burke and Joe Burke. These guys play the game the same way, except when you're talking about Mo Dalitz and you're talking about Korshack and Roy Cohn, these guys are small potatoes. But the system is the same. They just happen to pick on the wrong guy. Joe Burke has played this game in a horrific manner. He has lied, he has cheated to steal my money. He's not going to get away with it because the truth is going to come out. Whether he's bought judges, whether he hasn't bought judges, whether he's bought referees, what he's done is abused the system from the appellate division down. And I intend to expose every nook and cranny of what they've done. George Pavia is probably one of the most corrupt, vicious, ruthless guys I've ever met. He thinks because he's acting like an elitist, he can fool people. Well, you know, they say you can fool some of the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. So I thank you for listening to me. I expect to be putting together at least 1 or 2 tapes a week as long as I can physically do it. But I intend to put a full expose out there so all of you can look, listen, and finally educate yourselves on what to look for and what to be insulated from. Thank you so much.